Welcome back to Tilted Glory Gaming, everybody. Also, welcome to my review of Monster Hunter Wilds. First off, I want to say sorry it's taken me a little bit of time to get this review out. I wanted to get through the majority of the game um, before, actually posting my thoughts on it. That way I get a good, thought process of what's going on and idea of how everything's working in the game and everything's completed. So at this point I am a little over 80 hours into the game. I am above hunter rank 100. So I have done pretty much everything that there is in the game to do, um, aside from like catching all the endemic life or doing a ton of fishing or something like that. I have done a little bit of fishing, but not a ton. So, um, well, with that being said, while I did not get the game from Capcom, I bought the game with my own money. I did not get the game for free. Uh, I will say that I am slightly biased towards Capcom and Monster Hunter. I've been playing, these games since 2004 when the first one came out, and I will still tell you that the first game in the series is excellent. I don't care what anyone has to say. It is one of my favorite games from my childhood. That being said, I will not and cannot um, stray away from the problems with the game, which it does have quite a few. Um, and I will put timestamps in the video if you want to skip to certain things. We have a couple different sections. One of the sections is quite long, which is going to be like the weapon, armor, and skill section. The rest of them are relatively concise. Um, so again, I will not be sugarcoating anything uh, because I don't see that it helps the game or you as an audience in the slightest. That being said, screw Warner. Warner as a character, I hate you for everything you did in the story. There also will be spoilers in this. Um, it is a relatively comprehensive review, in my opinion, so be aware if you are avoiding spoilers. Um, this might not be for you. Maybe save it for later. But okay. First point is going to be gameplay. The core gameplay loop of Monster Hunter has not changed completely from its true roots through the years. They have refined many things. They have changed things here and there, but the gameplay loop is still very much there. Hunt big monster, make monster weapon, make monster armor, go hunt bigger monster. Um, and sometimes not even bigger monster, just more challenging. Uh, you know, do that for a story. In past games, the story's not been as integral. This game, the story is very front and center up until you get to Hunter rank 41, which is pretty much the end of all story, and it is just any optional quests or side quests that you have yet, and then from there on out, it's just making better equipment, making better weapons, making fighting harder versions of monsters, what have you, and just grinding your best, end game set or grinding your favorite fashion set or whatever it may be. Um, Learning a new weapon, starting a new playthrough with a new weapon, what have you. Um, the weapons uh, feel so much more intricate now than they did in past Monster Hunter games. Um, but with that, they also feel easy to learn. Um, there's so much more going on now with weapons than there was even back in Monster Hunter World, which was last generation. If you don't know, there are the main line title games, which would be the Monster Hunter. It would be Monster Hunter Dose, Monster Hunter 3 and 3 Ultimate, Monster Hunter 4 and 4 Ultimate, and Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Uh, those are the main lines, along with Monster Hunter Wilds would be a main line. Things like Monster Hunter Rise, Monster Hunter Sunbreak, that is going to be the portable side. Those games are usually more arcadey. Um, but as far as the main line goes, you have so much more like movability for your character. You have so much more at your disposal for different moves, counters, offsets, um, things of that nature. So it flows a lot better than even World and Iceborne did. And World and Iceborne by no means were, in my opinion, bad feeling games, but this is just another step forward, another step up. You really feel the weight behind the weapons. Everything has meaning. When you swing the weapon, you really feel that commitment that you have because that animation, for the most part, there's some animations that can be canceled, but for the most part, animations cannot be canceled. Once you commit, you commit. That's it. If I do a Heavenwards Flurry with the Switch Axe, I've got the upswing, the downswing, and the recovery frames. That's gonna happen. Once that button is hit, that button is hit. You're there. You're stuck. You're doing it, and you feel that, and it feels great because you are held accountable. Um, that coupled with the monsters feeling so familiar, even the new monsters, they move in a way um, that makes sense. Um, they the If you fought one monster with a skeleton, um, say the leviathans, you kind of have a feeling of how they move. Um, with their wind up attacks, you get a feeling of what's going to happen. There's never this, oh, zero frame, jump out of nowhere, no warning, um, kind of attack. Nothing feels cheap. Everything feels like if you got hit, it was um, a you problem, to say the least. It was uh, you made a mistake somewhere. You shouldn't have been standing there. Shouldn't have been standing there. But it kind of feels like a chess match. You know, you make a blunder in chess, and you get you know you get punished for that. Same thing in Monster Hunter. You try and pull off an attack that you don't have the time to pull off, you're gonna get punished for that. And if you don't, you feel lucky as shit. Oftentimes that happens. Oftentimes that happens. I will say all the weapons seem to be viable against every monster. There's no weapon that you go into and it's just like, well, I can't use this weapon against this monster. You just can't. It's not possible. No, no, no. Every weapon is perfectly viable. You can beat any monster with any weapon. It is not um, something that feels cheap. Yet again, everything seems very fair. That coupled with the fact that there's 14 different weapons, um, as there was last generation, I get that, but 14 different weapons with so intricate of a move set to them, um, and they feel so weighty and so authentic, and they differentiate from each other so much. It's just you'll get dozens or hundreds of hours, depending how savvy you are with the weapon. If you played it before or not, you'll get dozens, possibly hundreds of hours in, and you'll find little tech somewhere, you know, whether it be just against a specific monster or whether it be, um, you've not tried something, running a certain skill with that weapon, and you find out it's really good. I know a piece of tech that I found out for Monster Hunter World years later, years after, was you can crouch and um, sharpen your weapon, and it apparently speeds up the sharpening process. I heard that and I was like, what? I never knew that. I've been playing this game for what since it came out, so 7 years or something like that. It's ridiculous. So yeah, you can definitely get many hours, many games, like full games worth of hours in, and still be finding stuff out. So that feels great. Um, the monsters still feel rewarding and interesting, which is really saying something after you know 20 years in the franchise. They're still using a lot of the same monsters. We have returning monsters like Gypsaros coming back, and it feels rewarding to fight Gypsaros. Um, it's a better monster now than it was when it first came out, and a lot of games you can't say that for. So I really applaud the Monster Hunter team for um, being able to, you know, add so much over the years. Part drops seem seem very fair. I will say that I hunted New Udra uh, kind of a ridiculous amount of times to get a gem, but with the rate that they drop, that's understandable. And I just wasn't able to find a quest that gave a guaranteed gem, so I think I fought it like 20 times till I got a gem, which can suck, but it's not a bad fight, and it's a fun thing to do, so I didn't mind it too much. Um, you just learn to weave in other hunts as you're doing that, and you kind of get the you won't get the six, the quote unquote shits of it. Um, it doesn't get too old if you weave in other stuff. I will say uh, the star system for stronger monsters is a great concept. Um, once you get past the story, you got you know a star system to tell you how strong a monster is. That's great in concept, but again, it does nothing during the story. The monsters seem like they die real quick, um, which I think is why everyone says that the difficulty is so low, which I do agree with and don't agree with at the same time. Um, I just feel like the health is not there. The health for the lower, like the beginning of the game, is not high enough, and you're going through the story and beating monsters in you know 3 minutes or whatever, and that's not you know a great feeling when you get there and it's just up, it's dead. uh, I understand it's low rank, but a little bit more health would have been appreciated. Another minute or two, and then high rank just bump that up a little bit as well. Um, as far as the monsters go, the amount of different monster skeletons in this game made me very happily surprised. So you have one of the most diverse monster skeletons of any game in the series. Um, you know, Temnocerans are back. Um, you got Fang Beasts, Bird Wyverns, Brute Wyverns, Flying Wyverns, uh, Cephalopods, it, tons of different monsters. Leviathans. Um, and I won't touch exactly on all of them, but I'll go over a few here. Uh, the Temnocerans, which is the spider monsters. Um, so Lala Barina and Nursilla. Uh, they truly make you feel like they're real spiders in the world. Um, they move like real spiders. They um, behave in a manner that a spider would, or that you could see a spider acting. Um, you can actually see the nests and the spider web everywhere, and it looks believable. The little spiderlings for Nursilla are great. Um, And then even when they die, you have the fact that they curl up like a spider does in real life, like when it dies, like the legs curl in and everything, which is a great little detail. And I know that was kind of in the old games too, but it's more believable here because it just looks so much better and the details so much better on them. So it really just adds to the immersiveness of the game. Um, so that the Temnoceradon, oh my gosh, Temnocerans, um, really surprised me. I really like both of them. The bird and brute wyverns are well represented. There's Quemetries, which is currently my new favorite brute wyvern, um, and Fulgur Anjanath, who also debuted last gen in Iceborne. Both of those are great additions uh, to the the brute lineup of this game. Then, as far as bird wyverns, you have things like Ian Kutku and Gypseros, which are again both monsters from Generation 1. They were both in back in Gen 1. First game, um, Ian Kutku was actually the second largest monster you fought in that game, next to Velocidrome, I believe, if memory serves. And its armor back then was really good because it gave you, I think, attack up small, which back then was, only thing better for attack up in that game was Rathalos armor for the base game. But both of those monsters being back from Gen 1, truly amazing. Their fights are so much better now. Yin Kutku does this like head plow thing where he like slams his head into the ground and uses this up like a plow and tries to come get you. It's just hilarious every time. Gypseros, running on walls and just being a menace. Um, it still has its funny chicken spit venom, spit poison out the size of it, each side as it runs back and forth. Looks like a crazy chicken. So it's a great thing to see, and it's so nice to have those original monsters back and reimagined to something that is truly awesome. Leviathans, it's great to see them back. They did not make any appearance in World or Iceborne, which was unfortunate. They did show up slightly in Rise Sunbreak, but yeah, it is nice to have them fully back in sixth gen here. But I will say, Capcom, where's Laggy? Where's Lagiacrus? Where is he? Where's my freaking lightning crocodile? I ask. Tell me. I need to know. Is he coming? I need him. He's my favorite freaking monster. Give him back. He was one of the top monsters on the favorite monster polls that you did. Why is he not here? I do not accept this. You must be hiding him. You must be keeping him for some reason. Give him back. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Fang Beasts, Ajaricon, the new up and comer. I want nothing more than to see him take the reins from Rajang as the new face of the Fang Beasts. I just want Ajaricon to be stronger than Rajang. I really do. Um, I want like a super strong version of Ajaricon that just destroys Rajang because Ajaricon is so freaking cool. I love him so much. His his tail slap against his back to like a drum is awesome. His little spinny move, fireball, carded me once because I was trying to do a I forget what the move's called. Not zero sum discharge, but the new powerful move for Switch Axe. I forget what it's called off the top of my head. I'm just going blank right now. But um, I was trying to do that move, and he went into that spin move, and I wasn't able to get out of the way. Just one shot me. Wow, I was a little low on health already, but he just depleted me to cart status instantly. So that was great. Watched the series to see that. It was fantastic. Um, as far as flying wyverns go, Ray Dow is an excellent addition to the roster. I really like him. But unfortunately, he has nothing on Arkveld, who is truly a magnificent fight. I love Arkveld's fight like 100%, everything about it. Um, the one thing I don't like, I guess, would be when he backs up and does that like flying chain maneuver in like a semicircle, and then he lands, and then he whips the chains again. Too many times, I've gone into that and I've countered this flying semicircle with Switch Axe's counter, and then get instantly punished because I can't get out of the way fast enough for this chain slam. So I did what any normal person would do, and I fight him in axe mode and offset everything. Everything. Offset all of his chain moves. All of his chain moves are offsetable. My current record is 11 in one hunt. 11. So it's a lot of fun. I really like Arkville as a monster. And speaking of flying wyverns, the way that they reveal Rathlos in the story is magnificent. Magnificent. It is one of the best reveals. Fulgur Anjanath is a really good reveal because they didn't talk about him, and he just shows up post main story. So that was awesome to see. Um, and finally, the addition of the two cephalopods. Um, they're the octopus monsters, New Udra and what's the other one? Zuwu, I think the name is. Uh, Great. Um, for the most part, they function fantastic. The fight is really good. I will say, if you're fighting them in certain areas with slopes where they are on a flat surface at the bottom of a slope and they attack you, 9 chances out of 10 that attack is not going to land because the hitbox and the animation does not recognize slopes very well. So it ends up going through the ground rather than going up the slope. I don't like that. I wish that would be fixed because too many times I have lived and I should have died easily. Stunned on a slope or something, and the attack just goes straight under me. Um, so you know that needs some working out, but for the most part, they're great fights. I really enjoy them. Um, just need to fix those hitboxes on the slopes. Uh, I will say every single fight is pretty much magnificently done. Um, and as in previous Monster Hunter generations, the Monster Hunter team continues to push fights to new heights and new moves and behaviors, uh, with the exception of gore. I love everything. I love everything. I love all the fights, with a slight exception. This is probably a me thing. I get that, but I am not a huge fan of the gore fight. He is one of the harder monsters in the game currently. Him and like Tempered Gore and Tempered Arkveld are, I think, the two hardest monsters in the game. I will argue that Gore is harder, at least for me. Um, I just never feel like I get in a good groove for his fight. And again, that could be me completely. Um, I just never feel like there's a smooth flow to that fight. And I've fought him a lot in Sunbreak because he was the monster to grind levels on. So I knew his fight in and out in that game. Um, I had his fight down to, five ish minutes, just continually going through and and fighting him. Uh, I sat here for like 3 days in front of my computer just grinding levels for hours and hours at night after work just to get that game done before Wilds came out. But so I should know the gore fight. It's just I just don't feel it in Wilds. I don't feel the flow, which I really wish I would. So I got to fight him some more and see how that goes. Um, Again, all that said, the monsters do need more health. Um, I think as the generations go along and us as hunters become more agile, and have more tools to work with, um, they simply die too quick during the story. It does get better in high rank, but that's really only if you're facing 5-star monsters, which I don't think are really any harder as far as moveset wise, but rather their health is just higher, so you're just in the fight longer. Um, at least I've not noticed any moveset differences between 3-star and 5-star. I have been mostly fighting 5-star monsters when I get the chance, so maybe there is because I'm not really focused on 3 stars. They just die too quickly. Um, Again, other than the slopes, the monster movesets are all great, and I think it fits. Uh, the movesets I think fit low rank and high rank respectively for each monster, and I don't think they're a letdown at all. Again, just more health. I don't think there's a difficulty issue that everyone is saying about. Go fight Gore Magala at the end with no armor upgrades, as I've been doing, and there's certainly no difficulty issue except for Gore Magala is hard, as is Arkveld if he stuns you and two shots you, which has happened a couple times. I've not 3-carded any quests yet, um, but I have come close. I've come close against those two monsters at the end. So, again, more health, and I think all that difficulty talk would go away quite a bit. Uh, Moving on to the story, uh, in terms of a story, it's very short. I think we completed it on my playthrough in about 11 or 12 hours, I want to say. Um, but that's pretty much on par with past titles. Uh, it just seems short comparatively to other games. I will say when you're playing the story, it it seems like a good length. Um, it's very rewarding, and it doesn't feel like they just skip over stuff. It feels like everything has a purpose. The story might be concise and short, but there's not a lot of fluff. There's not a lot of stuff that you don't need to know. With that, you still get a lot of extra info if you want it, um, which we will get into here in a minute. But again, the story progresses nicely. It doesn't seem rushed. Everything flows together very nice. The characters show growth throughout the story, especially Nada. Um, and we even have a hint that their past about their past if you prod, um, and you actually get a sense that they actually know each other rather than they just have uh, exposition dumps just to make it seem like that. Um, there's a lot of uh, kind of heartfelt conversations that go on, and it makes you really feel part of the story. Um, that being said, I will say again, screw Warner. He is the worst. Don't trust that guy. I hate him for everything he did in the story. And he's not even a truly bad guy. He's just an asshole. He's one of those people that thinks he's smart, so screw everybody else. He just cares about his own ideas and wants, and yeah. So everybody knows that kind of person. The voice acting for the game at times seems like it's on a completely different level comparatively to other games. Uh, it's just amazing. Um, it really makes you feel the weight of the situation at times. Um, when Nada gets emotional, when you have your conversations with Gemma, with Alma, um, it just feels great. Um, then while a story in video games is not really new, obviously, um, and it's not even new for Capcom itself. It's not been something that the Monster Hunter team has been great with up until this point. But I will say this is the best story in Monster Hunter thus far, and it's probably one of my favorites in recent gaming history for games that I played. It really did want me wanting to play more just to see where the story went, and obviously the gameplay as well. But I found myself more so in this game not wanting to just skip story, and I wanted to experience it a lot more than I have in past. And I never skipped the story in Monster Hunter, but a lot of times it's kind of like, yeah, 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 yeah. Where's the next monster? Yeah, 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 yeah. Come on, come on. Get the little, exposition uh, dump out of here, and let's get to fighting monsters. But it did not feel like that in this game, and I really commend the Monster Hunter team and Capcom for you know getting that right in this game. Uh, they took a bold turn with the story. So again, spoilers. Anyone who's still here that doesn't want spoilers, get out of here. I don't know what you're still doing. Um, yeah, they took a very bold turn with the story, and I think it paid off rather well. I can tell you I'm not satisfied, but in a good way. Um, it's like I'm waiting on a new season of my favorite anime or favorite TV show of anything, really. Um, and I want nothing more than for it to come back because I have so many questions, so many things I want them to explore. Um, I just want more. I just want more. I want more. I want more. I want to know things. I want, you know, I want to explore stuff that they haven't talked about. And I just, I'm so inquisitive about the entire situation. And it's amazing. I think they really overdid it on this. Um, and just, I don't even want to say overdid because that makes me sound like, they shouldn't have. I really appreciate what they did, and it's very, very good. At this point, I can tell a lot of people are probably thinking, "Oh, he's just gushing about the game. He has no, flaws for the game." No, they're coming. Trust me, they're coming. Um, ah, with the inclusion of the player character actually talking, it feels like you're part of the story. Uh, Almost like I lived it with the other characters. Um, and like you had a true stake in the fight. Nothing did it better than at the end of the story, we had this, a horrible decision to make to either allow a monster to keep draining energy and become more powerful, um, and harder to destroy, uh, or to destroy the harder to, kill. Sorry, not destroy, harder to kill, or to destroy the energy source and stop the monster. Uh, we ultimately come to a conclusion as a group to let Nada decide because the necklace that he has, his father gave him, and it was his father's duty to put a stop to this if it ever came to it. So the burden falls on Nada, and he should be the one to make the decision. So you have all these people just uh, both hoping this way or that way that Nada will choose, and Nada really struggles with this decision. Um, But as he makes his decision, we go down to the monster, and before he can, you know, actually do it, we walk over. put a hand on his shoulder, and we just lift the burden. And we say, there's another option. There's another way. And then in the following moment, we, and we've never done this before in the entire game. Alma is always there telling us the guild authorizes this hunt, to kill this monster, or blah, 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 or save the ecosystem from this monster, what have you. But in that moment, we walk forward and we declare we authorize ourselves to hunt this monster. And then just with one swift crack of the end of our knife, we crack open the monster and awaken it, and we just go to town fighting the monster. The most amazing, the most amazing feeling in the game right there. That was the best. Um, I don't know if anything in recent memory lives up to that. Um, there were some really good moments uh, at the end of Iceborne, like when we jumped down the cliff to go fight the final monster in that game. Um, but again, it just doesn't have the weight because we're not talking; we're just nodding. We're like, mm-hmm, yep, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yep. We're not actually saying anything, so it just falls on deaf ears, kind of. Here, us saying it in our character's voice that we picked with a character that we made, a lot of us to make look like ourselves, it changed everything. It that was the best feeling they could have ended the story with, and to roll credits right after that, oh, masterpiece, masterpiece. For not having done a story proper in Monster Hunter before, you would think that they have. It was just done really, really well. Next, we're going to move on into the weapon, armor, and skill section of the talking points. This is one of the longer sections, so bear with me here. Um, the weapons designs, as usual, look amazing. A lot less of bits on sticks than we had back in World and Iceborne, although there is a little bit of that, kind of like so like I played Switch Axe going through. I played Switch Axe the entire time through. I did not dive into any other weapons. I wanted to experience everything with Switch Axe, and then I'm going to go back and play some other stuff and experience that. But I really wanted to get a handle on it with a weapon that I was very comfortable with and knew a lot about. So that's what I went in with. Um, but the Congalala Switch X kind of just looks like bits on sticks. Gonna say it. Kind of just looks like bits on sticks. I understand, some of these weapons were made before and they have pre-existing um, art designs and models for them. Uh, but sometimes you feel like they could change it. If doesn't look the best, they could change it. Um, like what are they gonna do with some of World stuff that's just bits on sticks? They're just not gonna bring those monsters back. No, they just change the models. It's fine. Having the ability to see both true raw, uh, and or bloated values for weapons is a nice quality of life addition, letting you choose whichever you jive with. Really, um, I like both systems. I tend to lean more towards the true raw because you get just a better feeling of how it matches up to other weapons in other systems, other not systems, but so like a switch axe compared to a great sword. What the actual true raw is between them, if they're on the same level playing field or not. I still have an issue, like in past games though, where hunting a monster does not guarantee you a weapon. If we go back to World, um, base World, I believe had 19 weapons. Again, going off switch axe here. 19 weapons that were makeable, 19 different trees in Switch X for base world. This game has 29 monsters. World had, I believe, 30 base game before add-ons. And this is before add-ons, obviously. And we have 19 weapons again. Same as World. Uh, I don't like that. It feels bad um, fighting a new monster and not having a weapon to go make. When you like fight a really cool monster, you're like, oh, but you know, the other weapons get you know a weapon out of this monster, but not me. Every weapon has that. It's not just you know, it's not just me with Switch X. It's oh, Gunlance doesn't get a weapon from this monster. Oh, Greatsword doesn't get a weapon from this monster. Um, but again, I'm talking from the side of Switch X because that's what I played. Um, but yeah, I still have the issue from past games, um, and it's something that I think needs to change. Uh, it, it's actually got to a point where just because a monster from a past game who had a weapon could be in a new game, you're not guaranteed a weapon from that monster. And you may be wondering, whoa, what are you talking about? Okay, so go back to Monster Hunter World / Iceborne and look at Switch X. Pookie Pookie had a Switch X. Again, I've not found any in this game. I've not found any of this game. I'm just talking about the series here. That's a series issue. But if you look at Rise Sunbreak, Pookie Pookie is in Rise. Pookie Pookie does not have a Switch X. Why? This kind of goes in with, you know, I really feel like every monster has a, armor set aside from the final monster of the game, Capcom. Aside from the final monster, um, every monster has a armor set. Has an armor set. They really should have a weapon to go with it as well. It just feels bad not having a weapon for every monster, and I really hope that they don't do the whole this monster technically has a weapon, but we're not going to include it, even though we have the model for it already. So that does worry me. Um, the weapons that are there, however, are all viable to beat the game with within their own weapon tree. None of them feel completely useless at all, even if they are not the same strength exactly with each other. Some will have more sharpness than others. Some will have more raw or more, uh, affinity. Um, but they're all viable for every fight. You can use them for every fight. I would suggest at least matching up element, but I mean you don't even have to do that. Um, with all the weapons looking cool and being viable, the downfall to that is, uh, and the downfall to having skills on weapons, which we will talk about in a minute, is that the end game, you will see people furiously attempting to throw all those cool designs basically in the trash to play with the Ardean weapon system, and try to min max damage out of it. Ardean weapons are something you get at the end of the game. Uh, you start unlocking them, I believe, like Hunter rank 20. They don't fully unlock until Hunter rank 41, I think. Till you complete Hunter rank 41, I believe it is. Um, but basically, there are these weapons that you get parts for, then you craft, and they make completely new weapons. Um, it's a system that we've seen before in Monster Hunter, uh, where you get these great designs for weapons, and rather than base weapons, so like a Rathalos switch axe or a Rathalos greatsword or whatever, um, you get these great designs, and rather than having the system at the end uh, add to these, rather than having the Ardean fragments add to the weapons themselves and make them stronger, they instead opt to have you ditch the weapons completely, um, for a selection of weapons that all look the same, um, and are kind of bland. Like, they look cool, but it wears off real quickly when you find out no matter if you craft a fire one or an ice one or a water one or a blast one or a poison one, they all look the same. They all look the same. There's no interesting new designs. There's also no layered weapons. Like, you can't layer the look of one weapon onto that. So you're just stuck with this, meh looking weapon, and everybody's running around with them. You don't see these awesome looking weapons like the Guardian Rathalos weapon, the switch axe that's there. That weapon looks amazing, but I'm not using it anymore because it's not as good as my Ardean weapon. Um, just kind of makes you sad. They put all this work into these intricate weapons and then they just brush them off. Um, so I don't enjoy that part. I really wish that they would do something better in that they would incorporate uh, the Ardean stuff into a weapon itself, into an existing weapon to upgrade the weapon rather than just scrapping the weapons completely for the Ardean weapon system. I Again, it's just nonsensical to me. Um, that being said, there's a multitude of different abilities given to weapons this time around, that are uh, that are included, such as like counters, the additions of offset attacks, uh, power clashes, the new wound system with focus mode. Uh, they're all introduced quite well overall, and are very satisfying to pull off. Some weapons really rely on breaking wounds in focus mode to get max damage, um, to power up their weapon. So that it can be a little tricky in multiplayer, but for the most part, I find people are pretty understanding of this online. Um, so it hasn't seemed to be an issue. Both the wound system and the offset system both actually gave me pause. I was very much worried about both systems. I wasn't fully convinced that they were going to work very well in the game, but I can happily say that I was wrong in that aspect. Offsets are so much fun to pull off, and the wound system works very, very well. Much better than tenderizing. Um, it actually makes more sense than tenderizing. Just tenderizing basically hit a part to make it tender. Uh, but you have to do a specific animation to do that. Okay, but why does that animation cause it to tenderize where an actual hit from the sword you're using not cause that? It's still a hit from the same weapon. It makes no sense. Whereas, the wound system, the more you hit a spot, the more likely you are to get a wound. Um, it's not even more likely, there's a threshold to it. So there's that. Um, so it just works really well, and I find that I enjoy it. Pulling off, you know, focus mode wound strikes and whatnot is just meh. Perfect. It's perfect. uh, Finally, there are two weapon systems they introduced in the game. While a fun concept, I have not seen many people uh, really using two different weapons. Um, the most I've seen is like different element or different status, but the same weapon. So like me for the entire time through my first playthrough, I used just switch axe. Uh, I know of a lot of other people just using, you know, two sets of dual blades, two sets of great swords, two sets of hammer. Um, not really two separate weapons, just same weapon, just different element or status. Um, and I I went in thinking that I'd dabble with it um, organically, but now that I'm at end game, 100 rank 100 plus, uh, now I'm thinking maybe I'll go back and try another weapon. But it's I don't know. I felt no need to use another weapon, and I don't think that the skill system really justifies you trying to use a different weapon like they thought it would. We'll get into that in a minute, but it's a nice concept. But if their idea was to try and get people to play multiple different weapon types, I think it fell flat on its face. It did not work, and I have my opinions why. We'll get into that in a minute. As far as armor designs, just like weapons, they're amazing as usual. Adding the layered armor system into when you craft armor was an excellent idea. I just wish they would have did it for the weapons as well. It really lets you cosplay uh, with your armor and not worry about if your mix set actually works in terms of skills, and then also them allowing you to both wear the male or female armor set um, or pieces from each. I think really played out well. While there's certainly parts of female armor that I will not wear, um, I do encourage anyone to use whatever they want and to look the way that they desire. And I will say, well, my male character, some female pieces really make a set come together more so than the male pieces for that same armor. It just flows better. Um, but again, not all. That's up to each and every person to figure out. But there's certainly parts of female armor that I will not use yet again. Um, but I think there's parts of both the female and male armor set that can work vice versa on each system and look good. And it really makes you um, able to make some unique mix sets. So if you haven't yet, get out there and get those mix sets done. Um, don't be afraid to mix and match. It's a great system. It works really well. No one's gonna judge you for wearing the female greaves or the female arm braces from a set. And if they do, just don't pay attention to them. Okay? It means nothing. It is just fashion cosplay in the game. Relax. It's just enjoyable. They also introduced mixed set bonuses. So you can get like a set bonus even if your armor is not from the same monster. So you take the 4 regional Apex monsters. Um, let's see, you have Raydao, New Udra, Uthduna, and uh, Jindahad, and you can mix all those, and they will stack. So there's a set bonus that works for each one of them. Like if you wear however many pieces of Jindahad, I forget what it is, 2 or 4 or something like that, you'll get the set bonus. But it's the same set bonus if you mix or match New Udra stuff or Raydao stuff with it. It adds to that set bonus just like Jindahad would. So that's really nice. There's other monsters that share stuff like that. That's just the easiest one to go across and to cover. Uh, it really is a great system that they came up with there. The skill system, however, I can see what they were trying to do, and it is something new. So maybe I'm asking too much here, but a lot of it falls flat on its face. Let me explain what I mean there. First, let's cover the fact that the Monster Hunter team, wanted to put skills on weapons natively, which is a great idea. I love the idea. The issue is the skills at times do not make sense. Again, coming from playing Switch Axe here, but when the fastest filling amp gauge is element, an elemental Switch Axe with element file fills the fastest. It is literally a 3-hit combo from no amp state to full amp state. When you have that, what does adding focus to the weapon do? There's, I believe, one or two. There might be two Switch Axes with level 3 focus. One of them for sure is an element file because I remember it really kind of ticking me off because it's level 3 focus is 15% gauge fill rate, which on a 3-hit combo to get the gauge fill from 0 to full does absolutely zil. Nothing, nada. And I'm not talking about the one of the main characters in the story. It just means nothing. It does nothing for the weapon. It is a wasted skill. Um, it still leads into needing three or three, you know, uh, hit combo to get into amp state. That 15% is not making up for a third of the amp state. It just doesn't. Um, and I know someone did. I was watching a video the other day, and I wish I could remember who it was. They did a test, and on Power File, which is you know, the one that powers up the slowest, on the sword gauge, it took one less hit to fill up fully. And that was like an 18 hit combo or something like that. And amp gauge, it took one less hit. I think it was like 8 hits total rather than 9, something like that. It not worth it. Like if you're getting it on a combo skill, fine, but by itself, it really doesn't do much. It just feels bad. Another one that I've harped on since before the game released: crit eye as a skill on a weapon, but not having native crit or either low or 0 crit on that weapon uh, means that other weapons outclass it quite easily if you can slot in crit. Um, because crit eye is only, I think, a 5 level skill at this point. Pretty sure that's what it is, 5 levels. And, you know, 2 levels of crit eye, that's fine. That's what I want to say 8% crit. Where another weapon that has 0 crit eye for the skill has 15 or 20% crit natively, which clearly outclasses it, nearly double and more than double. 2.5 times in the case of Gore Magala's Switch Axe, which has 20%. Um, it doesn't make sense to me. It just seems like a wasted spot that they could have did something more with. Um, it's made even worse by the fact that you'll not be using these weapons that have these native skills on them, such as focus, crit element, crit eye, crit boost, um, anything like that. You won't be using them for the most part in the end game because the Ardian weapon system's there, and the Ardian weapons do not have native skill rolls on them. You cannot roll an Ardian weapon with crit boost. You cannot roll an Ardian weapon with focus. It They don't have skills, and they're still stronger, especially once you fortify them. So that you know, it just doesn't make sense. Um, Again, the Ardian weapons even come with three level 3 decos on them natively. Like the top tier Ardian weapons that you can get from fighting the four Apexes, and then Gormagala and Arkveld. All these are tempered, by the way. They're all tempered versions, not regular. Uh, all those give you Ardian weapon pieces for the top tier Ardian weapons, which are the strongest ones. They all come with, once you make them, guaranteed 3 level 3 deco slots, which is even more broken because of the weapon and armor skill split. I mean, let's get into the armor skill or the skill system here. This will make it, you know, make you understand a little bit better here. Um, the team came up with a great idea on paper yet again. Again, all these ideas I love on paper. I just don't think they were implemented the best way. Um, that being, in this instance, each skill in the game is split up into either an armor skill or a weapon skill. So things like attack boost, crit eye are now weapon specific skills that can only be slotted onto a weapon, not armor. Great, we're good there. I'm fine with that. Likewise, skills like Evade Extender, Defense Boost are armor/utility skills. They can only put on armor and not weapons. Again, I'm good with that. That's great. It's great in theory. The team wanted a way to be able to swap, say, between lance and dual blades without wasted skills in the armor. Essentially making mixing and matching weapons easier in the two weapon system that they came up with. I understand the reasoning behind it. Again, the entire system kind of fell flat on its face from what I've seen, and what I've experienced in my own gameplay. And even, some of the people in the Monster Hunter team, when the game was being promoted, were even saying they're just running around with two of the same weapons anyways. So, again, you're not helping your cause here. Come on. The clear issue became kind of a double-edged sword here. Attack boost and crit eye are now competing with weapon integral skills, such as quick switch for switch X, and guard for lance. Yeah, guard is now an attack-based skill, so it seems. So if you want guard on your lance or your gun lance or your sword and shield or your charge blade, it has to come from a weapon slot, and you get 3 max. Some weapons you get less. Going through the story, you'll have a lot less. So that becomes an issue. With you know, again, with the regular weapons having less than stellar slot usage available, this means simply do without either damage or your weapon utility skills such as guard or quick switch or focus or artillery or what have you, because those are all weapon quote unquote attack based skills that they deem need to go on the weapon, not on the armor. And you'll not find them on armors either. Like, it's not an armor skill that you can get from a set, and you can't slot it in to the armor slot system. So you're kind of screwed there. This is somewhat fixed in the fact that 3 slot decos often come with multiple skills and often with multiple levels for each skill in the combo, such as a Focus level 3 and a Blaze level 1 deco. I've got a few of those. Or, you can have vice versa. You could have, a Blaze level 3 with a Focus 1 or whatever. I know have like a couple where it's like a Handicraft 1 at the end or something like that. So those help, but it eventually also just feeds back into the fact that the Ardian weapons are just outclassing everything else because they have 3 level 3 slots. So if you want, the max amount of skills slotted into your weapon, Ardian weapons are really the way to go because you can have 4 skills maxed out with 3 slots and have higher raw, sharpness, affinity, or element on the weapon over the normal weapons, if not multiple of that. You could have both affinity and raw higher than, a base weapon. You could have sharpness and raw higher than a base weapon. It just, everything funnels you into the Ardian system. And again, in a general sense, I'm sure there's certain weapons that are, matchup specific or matchup tendencies. They work a little better because of some for intricate detail. But as far as general all around best weapons, it's in the Ardian system, from what I've been finding, and it's not been close so far. Then you're like, okay, well, what about the armor deco slots? Well, you mean the lack thereof? Most of the armors in the game either has not very good skill distribution on the armor itself, where you need, you're not getting, any quote unquote god tier armor pieces. Everything's parsed out pretty sporadically, um, which is fine. But the deco slot coverage is kind of dog shit, to say it lately. Gormagala has the best deco slottage, I believe, in the game. So that's what I've been running, Gormagala set, because you can just slot in a lot of stuff. But then you pair that with skill bonuses that sound great, but ultimately get passed over because it's just not efficient in the other 2 areas. With skills that are actually on the armor, not including the bonus armor set skill, and just the slots not being there. It's just not great. Again, it is low and high rank. I get it. Um, it's probably a me thing here, but I was just hoping for something a little different. And then you're like, oh well, hey, at least you got those 3 slot decos, uh, and armor that can allow you to put at least 1 3 slot in each piece. We can do um, we could do armor, that gets a ton of skills, just like the weapons. Just slot in some 3 slots that have multiple skills on them. Nope, sorry. Um, After more than 80 hours in the game and past HR 100, I've not gotten a single 3 slot armor deco that has multi skills on it. No multi skilled armor decos that I've found at all, and I'm convinced that they don't exist. Um, so for all those people excited about utility skills mattering and being able to use odd skills, it can be done, but it is no more worth it now than it was in older titles, especially since your 2 slot and 3 slot skills like Evade Extender, Evade Window, Mushroom Mancer, and Stamina Surge uh, compete for space in your armor. For other quote unquote utility armor skills, such as and get get a load of this. Agitator, Burst, Weakness Exploit, and Maximum Might, which are somehow utility skills and not offensive skills. But Attack Boost and Crit Eye are offensive skills, the same as Guard. Come on. I would argue it is better to have something like Burst or Weakness Exploit or Maximum Might. Agitator, okay, whatever. But the other three, I'd argue that they're much better on the weapon side, and I'd argue that Attack Boost and Crit Eye are much better the armor on the armor side, just because they match up with a lot more stuff, and it's a lot less common to have those skills go to waste when you're switching out from one weapon to another. It it's just not common to see people using sets with no. It's sorry, it's not uncommon to see people using sets with no actual utility skills and all damage skills slotted in because there just is not any balance there. I'm guilty of it myself. I mean, I can't tell you how many different hunts I went in with Switch Axe not using Evade Extender, which is actually one of my pet peeves. Like all these people suggesting these sets, if you want to play Switch Axe, this is the best set for Switch Axe, blah blah blah. And there's no Evade Extender, there's no Evade window, there's no quick switch, none of this. It's all general skills. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of a blanket set. It works for pretty much everything, but like telling someone to play Switch Axe, especially if they've not played it before, or even if they play it at a high level, just don't use Evade Extender because you have a counter. You have a counter. You can counter everything. Mm-hmm. Counter is only available in sword mode. And I'm gonna get on a little rant here, and I'm sorry, but counter is only available in sword mode. Sword mode you need gauge for. If you have no gauge, you cannot be in sword mode. If you're not in sword mode, you don't have a counter. You have an offset. Offsets cannot work against everything. They don't. They also require very specific timing to pull off. With that, you need to get out of the way. Evade Extender is excellent for that. Evade Window is excellent for that. Not only that, yes, you can counter things, and there is a such thing as a perfect counter, which does not take any damage at all. But if you don't perfect counter, and this game is great at making the monsters hold back their attack and not send the attack right away. It's a lot of delays from the monsters attacking. Like they wind up and they're just delayed for it just feels like a half sec longer than you think it should be. And that counter wears off, and you get hit. It's just meh. Yeah, no, just counter everything. Just be perfect. Be a speedrunner. That's what you need to be. I hate people pushing those sets. I hate it because the average person's not playing it, and the people that aren't speedrunners quite often die. I'm one of them. I am no perfect player by any means. I don't run those sets for the most part. Yes, during the story and whatnot, I will run without evade extender or evade window, shit like that. But end game here, yeah, I'm not running without evade extender or evade window. Are you crazy? No, it doesn't even feel fun. I mean, if you're fighting the monster by yourself and you don't mind carding or restarting hunts, stuff like that, you're just looking for best time and that's fun to you, that's great, that's fine. I can understand that. But playing with other people, you're a liability. You are a straight up liability and you're going to fail hunts for people and stop it. But again, going back to this, like I was saying, um, why why add in those utility skills? Because again, If you can get more damage, people are just taking it. That's what I see. The majority of people do. They're just taking more damage, more damage, more damage, and it leaves out truly interesting utility sets. Other than for the novelty of it, people will make utility sets for the novelty, but I don't ever see anyone using them. I don't ever see, you know, um, people playing through Monster Hunter. Oh, we're gonna do a playthrough of Monster Hunter with a utility set. I don't ever see that. It's always, we're gonna put things to make it harder on us to play through this time, but we're still gonna go more damage, more damage, more damage. So it's not really that much harder, especially low rank, high rank. Once you know how to play the game, it's it becomes easier over time. Um, Again, wrapping up this section, I know I've complained a lot in this part, and it's not because I hate the game or the systems of the weapons, armors, or skills in general, but rather I feel like it has so much more potential to be something more, and that it ended up kind of being a letdown, and it gets pretty similar overall, you know, as far as sets to what we made last gen. Uh, so all the changes just feel like they fall flat on their face and have little to add in set diversity. And maybe that's just a me problem, but again, I just had so much more hope for utility sets being a thing we would see, these off the wall sets, with their own little intricacies, but rather we just all get, hey, add all the raw damage and crit you can, job a good and all done. So it's a little disheartening from the way the devs were talking. I really thought that they were pushing more towards that utility and away from all the raw, uh, and elemental well, not elemental. They were never in elemental, but all the damage skills more toward utility, but it didn't end up being the case. Uh, Next, we're gonna go over kind of a touchy issue: graphics and performance. Two very very separate and far off results here. The graphics are breathtaking on ultra settings. The issue is being able to run the game on ultra settings. I have a more powerful rig, and at times I cannot justify the frame loss on ultra settings. Uh, if I was to hunt with other people, I need to drop the settings just so I do not get huge drops in frames. We also came across an issue early on that we decided to play offline, to see if the frames would be any better, and the frames dropped to the teens and even the single digits at times. We had to jump out of the game and back into a recommended lobby to make it function properly. Thank you to the random guy on Reddit that posted it within a few hours or within the first day of the game launching. Um, because the game launched at midnight, I played the game and went to bed for, I don't know, 6 hours, woke back up, turned the game back on, and went in the offline lobby, and it wasn't working at all. It was horrible. So thank you for the guy on Reddit. Uh, really saved the day there because I was looking at everything. I was looking at my task manager, seeing what was open. The only things open were, Steam running the game, and then OBS. Everything else was basically not running. I have the little like 0.5% here or there, but other than that, it was just focusing on the game in OBS, and we were just dropping out of nowhere. Um, for reference, if anyone's wondering what I'm running, I'm running a 7800 X3D processor, 7900 XTX graphics card with 64 gigabytes of RAM, on an X870E motherboard. And I will not hear the argument that it's, oh, because you don't have an NVIDIA card, that's why you have such bad performance. No, because I've heard countless people with NVIDIA cards having a worse time than me. So, no, it's not AMD. It's just, you know, an optimization thing. And that I don't like saying that. Um, I'm not saying that it's worse than World like people were saying, because I know World had its issues on PC when it launched, and World has its issues today. You still have to mess with the game to get it to run correctly. I know I had crashes on World, um, but you still have to fiddle with that. But I just wish the game would have came out a little bit more optimized. In the time that I played the game, I only had two crashes. Once during a hunt of Arkveld, which was like, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through the hunt. Um, really kind of irritated me. It is on the channel, on the in the series, so if you wanted to look it up, it's there. Um, and then about an hour, or within the next hour after that, it did it again, but it was just in camp. It's not done it since, and that was around the 40-hour mark. I don't think that's a horrible thing. Uh, Two, it could have been something going on with my system. It was so close together that I'm wondering if it was. I don't know for sure. Um, but with how the game is kind of optimized, I'm kind of happy it's only been two. Uh, Call me an optimist there, but I was expecting it to. I was expecting it to be a lot worse than that with how the game was running. Uh, the game clearly needs more optimization, and I'm confident that it will get it. However, I do have a slight gripe here. The benchmark, in my opinion, was not a good indication on whether or not your game would run well on, on your hardware. Uh, Running a lock 60 in game using FSR quality, and I still have frame drops into the low 30s without frame gen. Even in cutscenes, Adrenaline is indicating frame drops in the 50s. On the benchmark, that was not the case. The frame rate was much higher, between 80 to 110 in cutscenes on average, and the only time the gameplay portion dipped below 60 was at the end of walking, or at the beginning of walking into the village at the end of uh, the benchmark, where it dropped into the 50s for a second before coming back up above 60. Um, yes, I get now that we're playing with other players in lobbies, and that adds stress. And I would argue the game did not even function in offline mode when I attempted that. So I do not hesitate to say something a little funky has happened between the benchmark and the full game. I'm not sure what, but I don't think the benchmark was a true, um, you know, identification of how your system is going to run the game. Um, I know, on FSR quality, uh, same presets that I run the game normally at, but using the benchmark, my average FPS on there was close to 80. Um, Again, with the lowest drop being going into the village at the end of the benchmark, um, where it dropped into the 50s for just a second, not into the 30s. We are constantly in the 30s for drops. Uh, Maybe that's with the lock 60, but that's under my understanding. I'm no computer whiz by any means, but under my current understanding of how it should work, I don't think that's right. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm sorry. I do not trust that benchmark at this point. I'll have to go back on and see if you can still use the benchmark. I don't know if it's still up or not. I still have it downloaded on my computer. I've not deleted it, but I don't know if you can actually use it or not. Such as like the beta comes down, obviously. Uh, I don't think the beta went back up, but the beta came down after the weekends that it was open. So I'd imagine the benchmark is down. Maybe not. We'll have to check it. Uh, Finally, the game also launched with a bunch of people reporting bugs where like skills were not working properly or the description of skills were completely wrong, where it said like 15% rather than the actual 10%. To this, I'm aware the team has dropped a new patch, I believe, as of today or yesterday. And I trust them to fix this going forward. However, there's no reason for a game to launch where the skills that are clearly not functioning properly in the game, uh, and in a game so reliant on said skills, it's the game should not launch in that state. It should have been. There's plenty of testing, and from some of the people I've heard say skills were working correctly um, in the pre-release versions of the game, and then the release happened, and then the skills were broken. So a lot of people like their sets, just the sets that they made prior to the game coming out on their review copies just were not working because the skills didn't work anymore. And why? What happened? Like, come on. Um, so, on that note, one more gripe. One more gripe on that note. Can we please get transparent descriptions on skills and none of this? But when certain conditions are met, or while active, slightly increases elemental attack. What conditions? Tell us. How much is slightly? Tell us. Tell us actual information. Stop being so vague. Yes, yes, the armor, yes, yes, make the armor, test it. I get it. That's fine. The problem is they change stuff in every game. So you have to do it every game. They patch stuff and it completely changes, you know, conditions that need to be met or increases or decreases stuff. And then people have to, retest it, and there's just some stuff that just simply takes way too long for one individual who plays the game casually to test on their own. So then they wait for someone to post a video on it and then hope it's correct and current information. And God forbid they play the game years after and they just look it up. They have no idea which, talking point from each person is actually the current state of the game. It's just nonsensical. Just give us legit descriptions and stop being so vague. I don't understand why that's so difficult. Maybe I'm in the minority there, but I really feel like I'm not. I just want to know what things do, for how long, how much bonus or, uh, decrease it is, whatever, and that's it. Give me a percentage, give me a time, give me an amount. I just give me something. Give me the criteria. I honestly believe that's why a lot of people don't use latent power because it just says when certain conditions are met, and everyone's like, well, I don't know what they are, so the hell with it. So I don't know. I just that's something that's been in the game for a long time, and I really wish that would change. Um, and this coming from someone who's been with the game since 2004, so you know, again, yeah, don't call me one of these new people coming in trying to change the game for the worse. I've been there from the beginning, so I don't want to hear any of that. But okay, I know there was a lot of praise at the beginning. I know there was a lot of complaining toward the middle and end, and then little things in between. Uh, you may be wondering, do I suggest the game? Do I think it's a good game? Is it worth the money? I will simply say the answer, the answer, the answer is absolutely. This game is amazing. Get the game, play it for hundreds of hours, and enjoy yourself. I know I will be. Again, I love Capcom and the Monster Hunter team, but it is disingenuous for me not to include stuff that I find wrong with the game. All of these issues are small, and a lot of people probably do not give them a second thought. But I find them to be issues, and all I want is for these games to be the best they can be. So for that reason, I will give my criticism, and I will also give my praise. And knowing that this is a great franchise, and one of the best that there has been during my lifetime. Um, so in closing, thank you Capcom, and moreover, thank you Monster Hunter team themselves. We all love you guys, and we want to play more of what you have to offer. So never stop being amazing. Now get out of here. See you guys next time. Bye.